thank you very much for being here. And I've already prepped the audience. They're going to be on their best behavior, which for realtors at the end of a day. So will you? Yeah, you've got some microphones there. If you want to speak whenever we go along, just bring it up to your mouth and I'll recognize you. Maybe we can start on the left. If you can tell me your name and whether the latest real estate transaction, what brings you here, and we'll just go across the table. So please.
My name is Juliana Gonzalez, and me and my husband just recently purchased a home here in Phoenix with Mary Cruz Martinez.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Rebecca Cannell. Last time I purchased a house was 99, so actually I'm part of the 50% of Phoenicians who still have equity in my home. Luck of the draw.
And so this makes it easy. You must be Al.
I'm Al. I am an attorney. I know a little bit about real estate because I do some real estate litigation. But I'm here because I bought a house, sold a house, and bought a couple of rental houses in the last 14 months. So.
Wow, okay.
My name is Karen Rudnick. I unfortunately had to short sell a home last year, so I have a little experience on that terrible issue.
Okay.
My name is Kathy Garrett. I've bought a lot of houses in different areas of the country, but my most recent purchase was a foreclosure this past summer.
So as we go through, one of the things that I'm going to do is just answer some questions. You can each take turns and everything else. But, for the realtors that are in the room, and for those of you that worked with a realtor in buying a home or dealt with it in a short sale or whatever else, what was the one thing that a realtor did right? We'll start off on the good thing. What was the one thing that the realtor did right that stuck out in your mind that said, wow, I'd want to use that person again if you did want to use the person again?
We went through, I think, 5 different realtors before we settled with Mary Cruz, and she was very upfront and forward and kind of laid everything out for me and my husband. Since we were first-time home buyers, it was a blessing for us because we had, like I said, gone through like 5 or 6 and we weren't getting anywhere.
What was it about, Julia, those other 5 or 6 that didn't work that made you want to change?
Well, we had our own price range, what we didn't want to exceed, whether the bank was going to give us the money or not, because we had already got, what our estimate was for our purchase. And they wanted above that. They didn't want to sell anything in our range. They didn't want to take us to show us any of the properties. They just really didn't want to work with us.
So the realtor that you ended up working with, the big thing that from what you're saying is that they listened to you.
Yes.
Okay, and that was your first home.
Yes, it is. It's our very first home.
Okay.
We just moved in. We've been there 1 week.
Wow, that's a great insight. For the rest of you, what else has the realtor done right in the transaction that you were involved in, whether it was a long time? Okay.
I'm a rather analytical person, so I wasn't willing to look for a new home until I sold the one I was living in at the time. And my real estate agent was very patient to show me 18 homes in Ahwatukee in 30 days because I had 30 days to make a decision, and we made the decision on the 30th day.
Wow. How did you keep track of all those homes? Because that's, wasn't that a lot of homes to look at, or did you feel that was normal?
I had a spreadsheet. Told you I was analytical.
So one of the things we talked about earlier today was behavior style. So if someone wants to talk to you, if they bring a spreadsheet, they sit down, talk numbers, you're having a great day.
I love it.
Okay. What else? Al?
I have been using the same realtor for 9 years now, I guess, since I bought my first house. And
why was that? Why is that?
The thing that really made me have that level of loyalty to him is the fact that the first house he did go around with us. We didn't have a spreadsheet, but we did look at an awful lot of houses over a fairly long period of time at a time when the market was pretty hot. And so houses were coming on the market and going off the market again pretty quickly. And he didn't try to pressure us into anything. And I think that for a buyer's broker, that's the only kind of broker that I would refer somebody to. If you get the sense that the broker is really working for the seller, even though they're supposedly the buyer's broker, and they're trying to get you into the highest price home they can as fast as they can, I just wouldn't refer that type of a person, a friend to that type of a person, to be a buyer's broker. They're really very different skill sets.
What was it that stood out that made him feel like he was your buyer's broker?
Again, the fact that he was willing to spend that much time at a time when the market was hot and there were lots of things he could have been doing, just going around to houses with us and looking at different houses, again, not trying to pressure us into going up to a higher price range until we had convinced ourselves that there wasn't going to be anything in the price range where we started.
So he let you self-discover that what you were looking for wasn't there, but it wasn't by telling you, it was by showing you, and then you found out you had to go up higher.
That's right, and we didn't go very much higher, but we went a little bit higher.
And just a little follow-up before we continue, what was it that made you stay with him? Because you've done, 4 transactions in the last 14 months, it sounded like?
Yeah, he's just always been, we've developed a pretty close relationship over that time, and so I have a lot of trust with him, and I also know that he knows the market fairly well. I'm a downtown Phoenix person. Everything's been in downtown Phoenix. He knows that market well. And he's always willing to put in the time on the buyer's side or on the seller's side to make sure that the pricing is right.
Okay. Karen, you had a different situation. You know, yours was a short sale, and that's a tougher situation to go through.
Well, I had tried to go through the modification with B of A, and of course that was just a fiasco. Being a straight commission sales rep, as all of you are,
we have a cone of silence on this room, so whatever you say is okay. So
the economy took over, and my income dropped about 50%. So, like a year and a half after I bought my $250,000 condo. So with that said, as you guys well know, I just couldn't afford it anymore. So I tried to go through the modification, and that was about a year and a half. When I knew that there was going to be an issue, I immediately started working with B of A. So then when I finally decided, this is silly, I can't do this, I might as well get out now and let somebody take over this home that would take care of it, because I didn't want it to sit empty. And there was an HOA of about $215 a month, so I knew that it would be hard to get somebody else in there. So then at that time, Mario Romano came in and immediated got my attention and got my trust. He knew what he was doing.
How did he do that?
By coming in and sitting down and talking to him, he walked me through the process, which I really didn't know a lot about the process. So immediately I knew, I gained that trust because he seemed to know what he was doing. He talked about, the different ways of getting through. Well, with B of A, you have to do this, and with Wells Fargo, you have to do this. And so, and he also admitted that it was a learning curve for him too, because, this was a whirlwind thing for all of us. So as he was going through, it was just, to me, it was just like, okay, I don't know anything about it, and he knows more than I do about it, but he seems willing to learn, so that gained my trust. And once he took over, I didn't really have to do anything. He was contacting me, emailing me, saying, here's where the market is, I think we should lower our price, or I think we should stay this week, or... so I just gave all my trust to him, and it just worked perfectly.
Kathy?
I guess it's great. Everybody's story is a little different. I live here as a snowbird. I live in Maricopa in Province, which is the active adult community down there. And my husband and I were looking for a foreclosure or something that was very cheap. We almost did this as a hobby. And so I didn't have any, attachment to any particular realtor at the time. I'm kind of independent about this. I know what I want, and I've been in and out of the business myself. And so I was calling. We had driven down to Maricopa, or we were already there, but we had driving around Maricopa. We were really calling on signs. And, the first, I would say 3 that I got, I was either referred to the negotiator, or I was given the information that if I would just give them my email address, this is the listing agent, if I would just give the listing agent my email address, he could hook me up with Flex MLS.
So you were just trying to find out the price on the home?
Well, I was, but I was also shopping for a realtor.
Okay.
So I was calling about prices and, you know, information, but I was also calling on the signs to see who I would talk to. So after about the fourth person, I got somebody who didn't live in Maricopa. She lived in Gilbert, and she started asking me questions. You know, do you live there now? You know, and she started to get to know what I was really doing. And, you know, within 24 hours, she was in Maricopa showing us properties.
So for you then, it was trying to find out more about you rather than, I want your email address or I'm going to try and close you right now. Just tell me a little bit about you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she wanted to know what she needed to do to sell me something, and it wasn't for me to give her my email address. So, you know, we spent a lot of time with her, and we were looking at really inexpensive properties down there, and we spent 2 or 3 days with her. One day we said, we only want to look at 1-stories, and we looked at, you know, probably 20. And the next day she said, I think you need to look at the 2-stories too. And she took us back, and we looked at all them. So, and it took a while. We were here for a visit in March, and then we came back in June, and then, you know, it took several times. And in the meanwhile, she was showing my daughter rentals, which she had other things to do too, but I think the service was, you know, is number one for me.
If there was one thing that a realtor did during your transaction that drove you a little bit crazy or made you a little bit uncomfortable, or that you would say to our group here today, don't do that because as a member of the public it drives me nuts, what would it be for each of you up there?
I was a little worried about the texting while she was driving.
So the message is for those of us that are showing property, shut up and drive, don't text. So she should hire a driver.
Other than that, I thought she was great.
Okay. Karen?
Like my mother always said, if you can't look me in the eye, then I know that you're lying to me. So that's one of my main things. Look me in the eye and be positive.
Okay. Al, is there anything that...
I don't know that I really have anything negative to say about the folks I've worked with. The folks that were on the other side in a few cases have been non-responsive.
So what do you mean by, you know, talk about the other side, because you've been very loyal to one realtor, which we all thank you in this room. But what is... But that realtor earned that trust. It wasn't just given. He earned that trust. What is it that drives you about the realtors that you had to deal with or that your realtor had to deal with?
The worst situation by far was that before we bought the house we bought at the end of 2010, we tried to buy a short sale. And the seller's broker held themselves out as a short sale specialist, but really was not terribly in control of the situation. And I guess at that time, I mean, nobody was in control of that situation, so maybe there was nothing they could have done, but it was not a great experience.
Okay.
In the middle of my whole process, my realtor went on vacation, which I realized that everybody has to take a vacation, but he didn't tell me. He just kind of like slipped out of town in the middle of the night, and then I called the office and he's not there. And so, and I understand that everybody has to go on vacation, but tell me. So I'm not surprised when I call the office and, you know, he was in Louisville.
Okay. So, Julia, you know, you had a lot of bad experiences with realtors and everything else. What would be the one thing that you would say to the folks here so that they didn't have someone like you who bought a house a week ago run away?
Well, with the bad people that we tried to work with, if you don't want to do the job, don't call me.
In what sense do you mean by that?
Because if you're not going to listen to what I want, you don't want to give us the listings that we're looking for in the areas that we're looking for at all, then don't say, well, I'll call you this and I'll do that, and then call us with things that we don't want.
You sounded like a pretty easy buyer in terms of what you guys were looking for.
Yeah, we were.
So, okay, as you know, you've just moved into it. How was that closing experience? How was the follow-up from the time that the showing happened to the time that you went to the closing table?
With the realtor?
Yeah.
Perfect.
What did they do that you liked?
She got on our loan officer who was dragging her heels. She kept missing deadlines with paperwork and things like that, and she helped us with making her do her job, I guess. because every time that we would call her, she wouldn't answer. But every time Mary Cruz called her, she would be right on it with her. So she really helped us out with that because we had to sign 3 different extensions for the contract that we were in because of her negligence.
Wow.
It was awful.
So how did you pick that loan person? Was it your own person?
No, it was through our bank.
Ah, okay.
And actually, it was somebody else who was who we had first, but that person left that company or left that bank and went to a different bank, so we got stuck with that person who replaced the other person that we had to begin with. And she was lousy.
Well, maybe to you and to Al and to Kathy, because you just had bought the home. How would you feel the realtor that you worked with them recommending a lender versus your bank recommending it? Compared to what your experience, obviously, that you had through. How would you feel about that recommendation or the referral from the realtor?
For my bank?
Yeah. No. If I was to give you my loan officer instead of a bank loan officer or a mortgage rep or whatever else it was, how would that feel comfortable for you?
Well, I'd have to investigate for myself, but me and my husband wanted to stick with our bank, who we have all of our car loans,
Okay.
and we wanted to.
So no matter who she had recommended, even though she was a great realtor, no matter who she had recommended as a mortgage officer, you still wanted your bank.
Yeah,
Okay, which is good for us to know that in there.
Yeah.
Al, I see you nodding, and you've got.
because we already had a history.
In this market, I think the recommendation of a good finance person is just extremely important and extremely helpful if people can make that. A few years ago, I would have given a different answer because everybody was trying to get their broker friends in the door and they weren't necessarily looking out for anybody's best interest. But if anybody is still in the industry and has any kind of experience at this point, they're probably at least doing a halfway decent job. But the transaction that I described that fell through was largely because we had gone to a local bank that held itself out as a community bank to try and get our mortgage, specifically because they were supposed to be a community bank that held their own mortgages and didn't resell them. And it turned out we were dealing with underwriting people in Atlanta who were just sitting on the file, and it was not a good experience at all. And so much better off to go through an experienced broker that the realtor's comfortable working with in this market.
So what you're saying is almost it's important for us as a realtor to go out there and interview that mortgage officer or the loan officer and find out, do they know what they're doing here in the marketplace or whatever marketplace they're in, and where their underwriter is located, which is another thing.
Yeah, and in Phoenix, I know most experienced real estate agents do make that a critical part of what they do to make sure that they have that they have loan officers who can close a loan, who are capable of doing that.
Kathy, did you buy cash or did you buy with a mortgage?
Oh, we paid cash, but I was a loan officer, so I probably should recuse myself from this question.
So let's talk about this. And Rebecca, you've been the longest homeowner that's been there and everything else. Has the realtor stayed in touch with you? And for those of you that have bought and everything else, what sort of follow-up has the realtor done with you? And is it what you want, or is it just annoying mail? So maybe we'll talk with Rebecca first, because you've been there since 12 years.
No, I never heard from him again after the sale.
Wow. Would you have worked with that realtor again?
I think so. I thought he did a good job in the process, but since then, several real estate agents have approached me to, not the word is to become friends, but to work through my network of people. And so I can quickly see the difference between somebody who doesn't put a lot of effort into the relationship and those who do. Okay.
For the rest of you, has your realtor stayed in touch since you purchased? I mean, it's 14 months, I think. Kathy, for you, isn't it?
Ours was in the summer, but...
Okay. So what's the follow-up been since the summer till 6 months since now?
Well, we really hit it off, so I would say, we've kept in touch, and she... invited us out over the holidays, and, I consider her a friend now, and I would use her again here.
Okay. Al, you've used the same realtor regularly and everything else. We talk about referrals are such a big part of our business. Do you refer your realtor out to people that you know?
Yeah, I had actually set up a situation for several years for him to take new hires at our firm on tours, just to give them a sort of an orientation. And
explain that to me. What do you mean by that?
We would have young people just coming out of law school moving to Phoenix, and he would take them around. And again, no pressure. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't trust him not to be pressuring the folks and trying to get their email and bugging them. But he would take them around and show them, just give them a tour of what was available sort of in the downtown area at that time. And I didn't actually engage in any kind of a transaction between the time I bought that house and the time everything started getting cheap again in 2008, 2009. But we had kept in touch. He always sent Christmas cards, and we were always in touch. And we did that about once a year, working with the new folks coming into the company. And so, yeah, we stayed in close touch.
So it's like a human resources service for you as a law firm or whatever else that goes on.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Do you use social media, Facebook, Twitter, realtors, they're being told, well, you've got to buy a Facebook account, you've got to have a blog, you've got to have Twitter and everything else. Do you read any of that stuff, or how important is any of that in the relationship you have with your realtor? For any of you?
Not at all.
Why is that?
I don't particularly like it. I mean, we're almost forced in our line of business too. We're almost forced to, Facebook and, put it all out there. And I don't particularly care for it, so I don't. I mean, I am on it, and I am connected with my realtor.
But you're not going to make a buying decision based on that,
Absolutely
or a selling
not.
decision based on that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, who else?
I don't use the social. I mean, I read blogs about real estate because I'm interested in it, but I don't do any of the social networking stuff at all.
So if a blog showed up through a search and it was a realtor giving information on Maricopa County, or you're in downtown Phoenix, or had information like that, providing you information, would that be more information that's more important rather than, hey, let's just be buddies?
Yes. I mean, again, the stuff that I'm looking at tends to be a little more national in scope, and also things like Redfin. I mean, that's just phenomenal, the information that brings to the
Explain that for me, maybe for some of the people that are here that don't know about that.
Redfin is one of the aggregator sites. I think it's the best one. It's the easiest. It works off of a map, and so what it does is it gives you essentially access to most of the information that you get from an MLS listing. And so you can Google Redfin and go right to it and look for houses that are listed in a zip code. And so you can, it actually probably would have saved my realtor an awful lot of time if I'd had that availability when I was first looking for a house, because I could have ruled out a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily want to go look at. I could make my own lists, but then he still brings a lot of value by pointing out things that I might not have caught that he's actually been to see or that he knows about.
Okay. Rebecca?
I wouldn't necessarily read something off of Facebook. I guess I know a lot of businesses use it, but I would think of it more as a personal informational site rather than a business site. But in my business, I'm a financial planner. I run numbers for clients all the time about rental properties, whether they should keep them, whether they should sell them. I talk them off the wall of pulling money out of their 401k to buy a property. So I do need to keep on top of what's happening in the local market, just so I have some ideas on what's coming next with the next mortgage market, what's happening in the different areas of Phoenix, because it's a very neighborhood-driven issue for our housing market right now.
Being a financial planner and doing that for realtors, I'm sure that over the last 13 years since you had that bad experience with the realtor, have you run across other realtors and said what you do for a living?
I do. I have about 5 or 6. Most of them are my clients as well. And if a referral comes across, I do try to match them up personality-wise. I have some clients who I think would be better matched with one personality over another personality. So I try to make that connection, because I know for myself, some people you enjoy working with and some people you just don't.
If I was to sit down with you and said, listen, I wanted to create a business relationship, you're in financial planning, I'm in real estate, what information could I give you as a realtor that would help you give to your clients? Not that I want your business, but just to become the expert in your mind. What sort of information could I give you on a regular basis? 1, how often would you want it? And 2, what sort of information would you like?
I think information flow management is a tough issue for my business and for your business as well. Not being a nuisance, but also getting information out in a variety of different ways, because people read different information and assume different information in different ways. So I'm looking for hard data, because that's how I crunch numbers, is off of hard data. But I'm also looking for when new programs come along. So if there's a new mortgage modification program coming along, that's something of very interest to me, because then I can pass that on to clients. Then they pass it on to their family and their family, because everybody seems to kind of know where everybody's at in their housing right now, because maybe it's just such a topical a piece of information.
So it sounds like that for all of you, knowing what you want rather than rather than saying, well, we're going to do one thing and it's going to match everybody in the room or everybody up on the panel. It's individualizing it for each one of you rather than making it sort of generic. Is that a correct assumption to say? And not to get into the mushy-feely of Facebook and Twitter and Craigslist and all those other sorts of things. Yes, no, okay. Let me ask you one more thing. Realtors have been told by different people, well, we should have a client party. We want to get all of our clients together once a year to say thank you or whatever else. What's your feeling on that? If you got, if we take a look, Julie, you just moved in a week ago, and let's say, in the spring there was a client party, and you got invited to it, and you were able to be with other clients of that realtor. How would you feel being at that event?
I'm sure I'd feel great. My little boys would love it, so I'm sure it'd be fine.
So something for you then around family rather than adult-oriented thing
Yeah.
would be important. Okay. Mm-hmm. Kathy, you're out of town.
I wouldn't go.
Okay. Yeah, you wouldn't go?
It wouldn't interest me in the slightest.
Okay. Karen, you were a short sale. There'll be a time when you're back in the market, or you run across lots of people in your business that you can refer. Mario had a client party. Would that be important to you, and how would that make you feel by going to it?
It wouldn't be important to me. I don't try to buy my customers' business, and I don't expect anybody else to do that either. It wouldn't be important to me, but
it
all depends on my relationship with him.
Right.
I mean, if I'm very comfortable with him and we developed a personal relationship, yes, I would go. But as business to business, to me, business is business.
Okay. Al?
Maybe. I would go to a party if he invited me to a party, but if he told me it was a client party, I probably wouldn't. Unless maybe if you're new to the area and if they really focus on a specific neighborhood, that might be a good idea for everybody to meet each other, but otherwise I'm having a hard time seeing it.
I really appreciate, because we're taking you all over the map in terms of questions, and I didn't get the list out to them early enough. I didn't get the list to them, period, because I really wanted to hear what they had to say, because each one of them is different. And, we've gone through a whole day here today where we've gone through, you should hold a lavish client party, don't do a lavish client party. You should be all over the internet, you shouldn't be all over the internet, and everything else. So, just to wrap it up, because we really appreciate so much your guys' time for being here today, what's the one thing that you want, if you could say something in a minute or less to the realtors that are here today, what's the one thing that you want to leave with the folks that are here that would make it easier as they go forward doing business with you or with friends of yours in the future? Whoever wants to start.
I guess just be patient with first-time home buyers, because we don't know anything.
Awesome.
Just
Thank
keep
you.
those patience.
Okay. Rebecca?
I guess for me, and again, I'm coming from a specific industry, I don't know how to pick somebody out in your industry. You don't have like a designation. Like in our industry, we have certified financial planners. And I know but I don't know what they are.
Hey, no.
So if you do have designations, you need to do a better job of marketing those designations.
That's,
and tell me...
Thank you.
Tell me why I should pick one person over the other, and when you are telling me why I would want to work with you, you have to tell me this is the designations I have, this is what the designations mean, only 5% of our industry have these designations, I can do this, this, and this for you because I went to the effort to get these designations, I went through all the hard work. I'm a very educated person, I have 2 master's degrees, so to me, dealing with somebody who's educated is very important to me.
Well, and I apologize that a few of them got a little upset because they're squirming in their seats because they've gotten a designation or they need to get one. But I think that was really cool what you had to say, because we think, well, we can put it behind our name, we can put CRS, CCIM, CRAP, whatever we want to put there behind our name. But you saying we're not marketing it, we're not telling the public. We can say all that stuff, but you're going, what does it really mean? I think that was awesome that you were able to say that. So thank you. Al.
to follow on to that, even beyond just specializing in residential as opposed to commercial or whatever else, I think it probably helps, and it certainly helps to get my referral business if you specialize even a little bit beyond that, because the skills for a buyer's broker and the attitude of a buyer's broker are very different from a seller's broker. The gentleman that I'd been working with for years as a buyer's broker, I really had to push him to be tough on me about pricing and about what the house needed to look like when I went to list it. It's a different relationship. And so to the extent folks are in a market where they can specialize, or short sales, totally different skill set, I would highly recommend it, and that's who I would refer to if I can.
You know, I think that's a big aha, because you're talking about be a specialist. You know, don't try and be a generalist. Specialists make the most money. You want someone who's good at doing one thing and one thing only. Great. Karen?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I put my trust in you, and I expect you to know what you're doing, and I expect you to do the research. I don't really want to have to do the research to find you, so that I know that you did your research. So I think it's the trust with me and being able to watch you progress through this sale the same way that I'm progressing, and whether it's a good sale or it's a bad sale, because we've all had good and bad sales. It's still a sale, and at the end of the day, I want to trust you enough to refer you to somebody else.
Which is a big aha. I mean, you're looking to give that referral. You're looking to trust that person to give them that business. It's not like you're withholding. You'll do it if if you trust them and they trust you. Kathy?
I guess a couple things come to mind. One is, you know, I have bought other houses here, and none of those other realtors that I worked with over the years did keep in touch with me.
Wow.
So that's number one. Number two is, like I said, I was on the other side of the business, and I think it's important to know the other professionals in your business, you know, the other people that your transaction involves. And I think having a cohort party would be more important than having a customer party, as far as I was concerned.
A cohort party?
Well, I mean, you know, the other realtors, the other brokers, the other attorneys, the other loan officers, the title companies, the home inspectors, and on and on and on. I mean, really know those people. And build, you know, volunteer at the realtors. One of my favorite people in the whole world is in this room, and I knew her because we worked at the Board of Realtors together on all kinds of volunteer committees. And you know, we did a lot of really great business with people that were like-minded. And I think you need to ask me what I want before you start telling me about what you're going to do for me.
Well, just on behalf of everybody here, I know it was a tough crowd, you know, and it was great that we got the diversity of the panel. Mario, great job in doing that. But I just want to say thank you very much. You made my job very easy today, and I think that you gave them a lot of tidbits. Thank you so much. You're very good. Thank you. It was very good.